When you have autism, you have sensory issues. When you have sensory overload, that's like a really nasty anxiety attack. But then there's the opposite. Sometimes your sensory issues, they just keep making you feel good over and over again. I can't explain it, but it's like that. And I was just watching this movie right now, and I guess I just needed to be in a good mood. One thing about me is I like watching movies by myself at night, like thought-provoking movies. It just gives me time to think, and I've seen this movie like 100 times, but I love it no matter what. I was watching the movie Lawless from 2012. It has an all-star cast. It has Gary Oldman, Jason Clarke, Tom Hardy, Shia LaBeouf. There's a lot of famous people in that movie. And in this video, I'm going to rant about the South and just all my different experiences about the South. I hope I don't trail off too much. I want to talk about Southern Noir, different Southern Noir movies and books. And I hope I keep on I hope I stay on track. I hope I don't trail off too much. Okay. So where do I begin? I first got introduced to bluegrass music from that movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And I guess you could consider that a Southern Noir movie, but it's kind of like a comedy movie that the Coen brothers made. But because it sold so many units of the soundtrack, Billboard decided to make bluegrass charts. And when I was trucking, when I'm trucking, I usually like when I'm driving in the southern states because it's just like a bunch of hills and peaks and valleys, and you're just driving in the hills and mountains all day. I love listening to bluegrass. It just matches like everything I'm looking at on the windows and stuff. And I just like there's a time and a place for bluegrass where it hits different, it hits better. It's amazing to me. Sometimes movies get it right. Not all the time, but sometimes they do. And the last really good Southern Noir movie I saw, I think it was called Where the Crawdads Sing. And I loved it because it has like a lot of different like Southern justice and Southern lawyers and Southern judges. And it's a pretty cool movie. I recommend that you go watch that. I think that's what it's called, Where the Crawdads Sing. It's a murder mystery. I recommend you go see it. I remember a few years ago there was like I was at this one parking lot. I forgot what I was doing there. It was kind of like about maybe like an hour before the sun went away, and I think I saw like either a Dodge Charger or a Camaro or some kind of modern day hot rod. And the guy's windshield on the top, he had this big sticker. It spread across the whole windshield. It said Bondurant. I wanted to meet him. I had to meet a Bondurant. Like in that movie I just saw, it's about the Bondurants. I guess they're just as famous as like the Hatfields or the McCoys. And I would recommend watching that. I think they got that on Netflix too, the Hatfields and the McCoys, the one that Kevin Costner made, where he plays Devil Anse Hatfield. That's an amazing miniseries. I would recommend that. And well, anyways, where do I start with Lawless from 2012? I personally think that movie is a timeless classic. Everything about it is just a masterpiece. The villains, the heroes, like all the bluegrass music, all the all the cinematography, like all the backgrounds you see, all these forests. I have an idea of where they filmed it, but I think because I'm such a history buff, I love history, and This movie was very historically accurate, and that's one of the reasons I love it. And I really like the way it depicted like the women really powerful. It wasn't like some woke movie, but let me put it to you like this. Some of you have never experienced this kind of culture clash, but like a Southern belle is pretty much like in a league of her own. Every now and then I'll meet one. I would say more from like East Texas, and we still have antebellum houses and stuff. But yeah, you will see a lot of culture clash in the South. There's still a lot of chivalry. There's just a lot of stuff that never died out. I mean, it runs like clockwork. Why would you, if it ain't broke, why fix it? You know? And, like, you never, they have so much respect for them, like the Southern Belle. You would never, you would never even think about testing them or crossing them or anything of that nature. Just like the women in that movie, like Lawless. Um, when I was a kid, I had the same teacher for fourth and fifth grade, and she was a Southern Belle type. And everybody, like, pretty much, she was really just well respected. And she was like about in her 60s. You meet a teacher like that once in a lifetime. She reminded me of like Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World. It's like you'll never find somebody that respected in like the teaching world. And she took me under her wing. She showed me. She had so much patience with me. You know, they didn't have the same kind of knowledge about autism that we have now. They didn't have it back then. But she knew something wasn't like normal with me. But she was really patient with me, and she was like my hero. I love her. You know, it broke my heart to find out that she died about 5 years ago. And whenever I get the chance, I want to go to pay my respects and visit her grave. She always took care of me. She was like the grandma figure I always needed in my life. And I really love a lot of aspects about the South. Every so often I will meet like a Southern Belle type, and it sticks out, and she'll do that Southern Beau handshake that no guy knows how to respond to. And what is it that you actually do at that point? Like, what are you supposed to do when she gives you the Southern Beau handshake? It just always gets so awkward when that happens. That's one thing I really love about that movie Lawless. The relationship that Shia LaBeouf has with the preacher's daughter. It's like you can't really consider that a courtship because that dad did not approve of that thing. And it was just like I saw those like Shia LaBeouf and his, I guess you could say it's his wife in that movie, but I thought they were like a power couple. I love it. They're both like 5 feet tall. I was just cheering them on the whole time. I have a lot of respect for people that could live off the land. It's like people from that generation from the movie Lawless. It takes place like in the 30s. They just knew how to survive without any money at all. You take a look at the background, like I see a lot of crazy things in the background, like they got a root cellar, they got all these, they know how to preserve all these like different fruits and vegetables and stuff. I really loved how they have all these whiskey stills. I mean, that stuff is going to be triple distilled. Like, they're moonshiners in the movie. Uh, I really love the history of moonshiners. I'm going to go ahead and have to pick up the book that it's based off of. Anna Bondurant wrote it. I think it's called The Wettest County or something like that. That's the name of the book that the movie's based off of. And it's crazy to describe because the movie Lawless is about, it's like 4 or 5 different genres mixed into one movie. You got the Chicago Noir, those mobsters from Chicago were in it. Then it's a Southern Noir. It falls under the category of a gangster movie. I love how seamless it is. Everything about that movie is a masterpiece. I love it. Hollywood can't make villains anymore. And this one had like a really good villain. What's it called? Some of my favorite noir books. I pretty much read all the books that Mickey Spillane wrote. Um, Slowly but surely, I'm starting to read more like Southern Noir. Um, TMC, the Turner Classic Movie Channel, on the weekends, they have Noir Alley. So you'll see some really good ones there. I like watching the noir movies that deal with like boxing, like how crooked boxing is. You want to see a good noir movie like that? Check out Requiem for a Heavyweight by Rod Serling. I think he wrote it and directed it. It's the guy that made The Twilight Zone. This is where they ripped off that 2008 movie, The Wrestler. But Requiem for a Heavyweight was actually about boxing. It's about this has-been boxer that he's just barely starting to come to terms that he has no skills. What's he really going to do to keep a roof over his head? And just like the movie The Wrestler, he knows he can't hold down a real job. He just can't do it. He doesn't have like the wits for it. And so the only people that are willing to even play ball with him is some crooked pro wrestling promoter, and they're just putting him like in joke matches. And what else could he do? He doesn't know how to do anything else. So Requiem for a Heavyweight is a really good movie. I would recommend you watching that one if you get the chance. Louis L'Amour, his books, they're like country western, but I would still say they fall under the category of noir. I love Louis L'Amour books. Pretty much any truck stop will always have them. I could sit there and read one like in a day or two. You just get that into it. Come to think about it, now that I'm thinking about that movie Lawless, if you ever found yourself in that situation, whether it was a teacher, a principal, or some of you might have even been in a relationship with a Southern Belle, I give you props. If you were in a relationship with a Southern Belle type, you have coconuts in your pants, pal. I once had a principal, and I think I also had a teacher in this one school I was at that, yeah, they were like the Southern Belle type, and they were like scary smart. They had a brain that was like a steel trap. Inside that steel trap was a bunch of wisdom, a bunch of discipline. You do not mess with these people. You just don't test them. Don't pull strings. You better bring respect for them. Okay? There's my red pill. Okay? I'm telling you the truth. There's my red pill for the day if I'm just being honest. Don't mess with a Southern belle. Show her respect. Okay? Don't argue with me. I know what I'm talking about. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but history is always being rewritten. I want you guys to really do your research. I know what I'm talking about here. Those Mexicans in the Civil War fighting for the Confederate States of America, the Confederate Army. Those Mexicans, those black men, those Native Americans, they all were fighting for the South. But of course, the media will not show you that side. It always tries to rewrite history, and that's not the case at all. Do your history. Don't just be talking bad about the South or the rebel flag, or unless you know what you're talking about, don't be mouthing off about it. Okay? But yeah, go check out that movie Lawless from 2012. I guarantee you'll fall in love with it too. Don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. Leave your comments whether good or bad. You're not going to offend me.